Welcome to Zips Nation Insider. My name's Jacob Farrar. A little bit different of a look tonight. We got not only the location, it's not the fancy basketball player development center or the stadium. We're doing things a little bit different. I'll talk about that in a second. But also need to apologize to all the Grant Bogdan fans that watch. Grant is not able to be here tonight, but in his place, we have a fantastic guest who's going to help us with both kind of we call the banter segment. We're going to recap the week in Zip Sports, but also he's our guest for the episode, Chad Welker. Welcome, Chad.
Going on, Jacob? How are you doing? I'm glad to be a guest this time instead of subbing for you in the awesome questions that you ask our student athletes and our coaches. So happy to be here on the other side.
Yeah. So yeah, you alluded to the fact that you are not a stranger to watchers of Zips Nation Insider. You filled in a few times for me when I've had some schedule conflicts or been out of town. So appreciate your ability to fill in a pinch. You've done some some great interviews. I'm always jealous because you get the ones that I'd love to talk with Coach Genzer. So we'll have to get him next year or Mitch Butler. You've had some good guests. So appreciate you filling in. So it's going to be great to kind of turn the pages, so to speak, and put you on the hot seat for a little bit. But
Fantastic, ready for it.
not too hard. In traditional Zips Nation insider fashion, we are big fans of the softball questions, and so nothing too hard. We're not going to grill you about anything related to Zips athletics or those types of things. So, first thing we're going to do, obviously, Zips Nation Insider powered by the Fear the Root Collective and Bryant Heating and Cooling. We're going to jump right into this past week. I think the big game that everyone was talking about going into the weekend, and since our last episode, was the big win over Miami. Fantastic. I don't know, Chad. Did you think it was going to be a blowout? Like, was that on your bingo card for the night?
It's funny you mentioned bingo card because that's what the students were playing during the
That's right.
contest over the course, and sometimes that was the only way to keep them engaged, right? No, honestly, in talking with some of our sports information folks the night before, I've been saying it for the last couple weeks. If we make our shots, we're gonna win. And I know it sounds cliche and
Sure.
maybe too easy, but when you're shooting the lights out of the three ball, like we have been in the month of January, there's no like false statement to that
Yeah. Yeah.
because it doesn't matter when those threes start falling. Um, they help at some point. But I think I was more surprised in Miami's lack at I guess at the start of the game to kind of run with us. I know with the brothers, Coach Gross and Coach Steele, they talk all the time. Their styles are extremely similar. But Miami just couldn't make their shot in the first half, and we just got out to that 20 some plus lead, 30 some plus lead,
Yeah.
and the second half just turned into a, you know, basket for basket, keep the lead, don't let them go on a massive run, and Miami never really could.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I
It
was
was.
surprised, and I was also surprised that Miami didn't use their size as much against us.
They had a
And
7-1 player. 7-1
yeah,
player. I don't know what his final stat line was, but he really wasn't as dominant. Now, he probably was outmatched as far as weight goes. I think Amani Lyles could push him around a little bit, but
sure.
or the other the bigs on the Zips. But
Yeah.
yeah, I was surprised. I had seen them the week before at Kent. I was at that game,
Okay.
and they had the ability to come back on Kent. Kent was up at halftime, but they came back and stormed. I mean, it was totally different game. But yeah, so the Zips won 102 to 75. That was the final score. We had six players in double figures. Shot 55% from the field, 44% from three, and then out rebounded the Red Hawks 41 to 24. Again, to your point, like where are their bigs? Like where are those guys at to be out rebounded 41 to 24?
Yeah, and even in that offensive rebounding number, 12 to 6 in the offensive rebounding category, which again just allows us to take more opportunities to potentially make a three because that's what we're shooting right now. And we're hitting at a high clip right now, for
And
sure.
everyone can do it.
Right.
Anyone on that court, um, Yeah, maybe aside from James Okonkwo, like everyone else, I mean, you give them an open look, they can drain it. So, Tavari Johnson was a MAC player of the week. He scored 15, 6 assists. Nate Johnson, 14 points, 4 steals. Seth Wilson, again, 14 points. It was just a fantastic effort. It was, again, surprising. I talked to someone in the week that was, he's like, I don't know, Zips, they typically start out slow. Miami's going to start out fast. And it was the complete opposite. I mean, it was
Yeah.
just complete opposite. Just the dagger three that, it seems like there were so many of those that just stopped any momentum or just completely paused any momentum at all. So, and then obviously this week they played. We're recording this on Wednesday. They played on Tuesday. Another road win for them. So they're up to. I guess they're now 9-0, 8-0,
Eight,
8-0,
yeah, 8-0 to
8-0.
Tabari Johnson once again with the big night. The Johnsons in general, Tabari with 21 points, Nate Johnson with 19 points at Northern Illinois yesterday. Shamal Scott coming off the bench with 11 points, 7 rebounds. Um, Six man of the year in my vote. We haven't talked about Shamal, I don't think enough.
Yeah,
Uh, and I mean, he's defensively sound. He hits timely threes. Just a really good leader. He's been on the team now for 2 years, um, and he contributes in so many different ways that you got to keep you got to keep an eye on him when he comes on the court. And there's ten guys that Coach
yeah,
Gross uses every single night, and you can't sway away from anybody else. You
sure,
you
sure.
can't do it right now.
Actually, in going back to that game on Saturday, everyone that was in scored.
Yeah,
Everyone that got in scored on Saturday night. So you're right. I mean, with that assessment, I mean it's again as Coach Gross said in his press conference, it's a, 17 round tournament, and
yeah,
this is halfway. We're just halfway through, and I appreciated. I can't remember his name. I think it was Shema. One of them was mentioning that we're gearing up for the tournament. Like what we're doing now is prepping for the tournament. That's the prize is the
yeah.
tournament. This is the prep work that goes into that. So
Yeah, absolutely. And you have one of the best coaches right now in the conference in Coach Gross. He's done it multiple times. Twice obviously here at Akron. He did it a couple times in Athens down at Ohio. He knows what it takes to win Mid-American Conference championships and the tournament runs. And they said even earlier in the year this is supposed to be a down year for us.
yeah,
Um,
no kidding.
you know,
Someone was
and
wrong with that assessment.
yeah, and well, I mean, it's interesting down year for us, but they still put us number two. It was really
Yeah.
really interesting in the preseason poll, and right now we're sitting a game ahead of Miami. I guess 2 games ahead of Miami because of the tiebreaker, and then you got 2 games ahead of Toledo right now. But February is going to be really tough because we're going to go to Kent on Friday. I know it's
Yep.
January 31st, but gonna go to Kent. We're
Yep.
gonna go to Athens. We're gonna go to Toledo, and they're not easy places
No.
to play on any given night. And they've seen us now as well, so they're gonna have some wrinkles that um, will be interesting to see how John and the Coach Gross and the team adjust and add new pieces to try to get road kills as they say.
So you alluded to this weekend. We have Friday night, big game at Kent. There's a little bit. I feel like there's a little bit luster off it. No one's been talking about it. There's no, social media. It's rivalry week. Not a lot of talk about that. But again, it's a big game. When you go on the road, especially those that play in the kind of the top half of the bracket right now, it's gonna be a tough one. The fans are gonna be excited. This is the game, just like when we have them here. They don't want to. They don't want us to beat them.
Right.
So it's gonna be a rowdy environment. Looking forward to this. Quite frankly, it's another test. It's another test, but they've been pretty good so far. So excited about that. That's this weekend, Friday night. I can't remember what the game time, but it is gonna be on CBS. So
CBS 7 o'clock. Yeah,
CBS
and
7.
from what it sounds like most of their tickets have been sold for this one. From what we've kind of gathered within the department, I know we've got 100 student tickets that will allow our students to get into the building and hopefully create a little bit of a home court for us. But man, that building's just it's tough to win there. And Coach Crow's got them last year there, but yeah, we're gonna see. That's why they play the game. We can
Yeah,
talk as much
yeah.
as we want.
Well, I tell you,
They
last year at the game, I was there, and the fan section is so behind the teams up to the left, and it was. I mean, we had our fans there, and there's some kind of behind the bench as well, but most of the student seats are way up there. But they were pretty boisterous regardless. But yeah, it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I'll be there. Um, and so it should be a lot of fun. Let's transition to the women's team. They play tonight. Again, we're recording this on a Wednesday. I'm not sure what the score is at this point, if it's even
I'm
started
actually
yet.
watching right now. They're
Okay.
down 29-22, under 5 minutes in the second quarter.
All
That's
right,
where we
good.
are.
As we go through the episode, please give us some
Yeah,
score updates.
absolutely.
You can do the ESPN da 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 da, and then you can do
Yeah,
a little.
absolutely, absolutely. Got to talk about Shelby Brown. She's
Yeah,
been playing out of her mind, and Maddie Vasicki just hits a three as we are just talking about it. So it's 29-25 with 4:30 left to go. But Shelby Brown, the last two home games have set career highs in points, and she's just getting better. Biggest thing with the ladies, I think, right now is just trying to find ways to stay out of foul trouble. Um, I know Coach Gensler, I know the team is they're done talking about the undersized or the lack of numbers that they have on their team in regards to roster numbers. Like
yeah,
they're still all in, and the Coach Gensler says it after every press conference. And his team, he's got two athletes with him after the contest against Buffalo, who Buffalo's a top team in the conference, and they took them toe to toe, right? They were up 25, I think 16 or something in the first quarter, and it was just a second quarter
yeah.
couldn't keep with Buffalo, and that's the quarter that hurt them. And then they ended up losing by 9 on Saturday. I think it was 80-71, 80-72 or something like that.
80-71 was, but you're right. That second quarter is what did them in. The Zips just couldn't claw back from that.
Yeah, and so if they can stay out of foul trouble, and keep developing Naira Clark as a freshman from Toledo. I think she can be a really solid player for this Zips team. And in a league that you need to have somebody down low and down in the post be able to score.
Yeah.
As much as everybody likes shooting the threes, you still need to have a threat down low, and I think Naira Clark is one of those developing players here at Akron for sure.
I should pause for a second, mention why we're shooting this episode tonight in this
Yeah.
way. So we were supposed to have actually teased it on our Instagram page for Zips Nation Insider. Alexis Mobley was supposed to be the guest this week before they took off to Bowling Green, but I had some car issues, blown out tire on my way to campus. We were able to postpone it, so unfortunately, we'll have to reschedule with Alexis. But looking forward to talking with her. She's been a fantastic player the last 2 years. She last year was her first year at Akron, transferring from Danville Community College, where she was a lights out player. I think she was averaging like 20 points a game for them. It was her time to move into Division One, and I think we're very fortunate to have her. So we definitely are looking forward to chatting with her. A huge appreciation that she was able to. We did, we can move it, and we'll move it to another week. Like I said, with them traveling this week, it kind of once we weren't able to do it Monday, it really kind of threw off the schedule. So apologize to Lexus, apologize to our viewers, our fans, but we'll have her back. She will definitely be on the podcast moving forward.
And it will be within the next couple weeks too.
Yeah,
Like I've
yeah,
talked to her as well, and she's ready. She's
excellent.
excited. I know. You mentioned that she reached out to us on Instagram as well. Just hoping that we wasn't something that we forgot about her.
No, no, not at all,
Definitely
not at
didn't
all.
forget
No,
about her
can't.
for sure.
No, one word, and I'm looking forward to talking with her because one word to describe her is fearless. I have seen her drive into to the into the lane, into the basket so many times of her just flying through the air, and it's she's just fun to watch. And so I'm looking forward to having a conversation with her. So as we've been talking, they're at Bowling Green right now, playing, and then the next time they're back in the jar, it'll be next weekend. Or no, next week, the 5th. Sorry, next week, the 5th, hosting Western Michigan. It's also National Girls and Women in Sports Day. So that's taking place. So excited to have the Zips back on February 5th. Just really quick, we had swimming and diving. We were at the Tim Welch Classic this past weekend. Also, just read today that Abby Daniel picked up a MAC Swimmer of the Week. I mean, Chad, Tavari on the show, MAC Player of the Week.
Yeah.
Abby 2 weeks ago, MAC Swimmer of the Week. Like I'm not. I'm just.
I mean, Mitch Butler was Big East Player of the Week at one point in time.
Yeah.
You're not kidding, Jacob. I mean, it's something. There's something about Nate Johnson was Player of the Week, I think, right at
Yeah,
some
well, he was
point
player of the week before
before we
before
had
yeah,
it.
he was
Okay,
actually before the I think before the New Year's, like in like
okay,
either like December or something like that. But nonetheless, you're right. Like we've been able to get some good ones and have stellar performances after the episode. So I'm not saying we whatever but I've just it was just something I saw
putting
today.
more. You're putting more pressure on me in regards to who I'm scheduling to get on, which is okay.
Well,
That's what I'm happy to do. So for sure.
Hey, I'm sure once that gets around that, hey, you go on the podcast and you might get Player of the Week. But we
Yeah,
do
for
have,
sure.
we got spring sports. So we got a lot of content coming. I mean, there is a glut of people that we want to connect with. So again,
And
swimming.
I'll actually throw a pitch out here too, Jacob,
Yeah,
if you don't mind.
yeah,
If there's any, our viewers and our fans, if there's an athlete that you want us to, you
yeah.
know, interview, let us know. Like that's what our role is here, is to be the insider, and we'll find a way to get them onto our podcast and get them chatting with you or myself.
I appreciate you doing it, because we haven't done that in kind of reached out to the fans to say, suggest someone, but we've had some great guests and that's thanks to you and the sports information team at Akron of helping us get some really good. But yeah, if there's anyone, I know there's some fan favorites in some of the sports, so I'm sure we're gonna get some of those. And then again, we got spring sports coming up, and so we're gonna have from lacrosse, softball, baseball. There's some players that not only follow us on our Instagram for the show, they'd be fantastic. Like a Max Bowman, right? Max, he follows us. He's a 5th year. He's man, I can't wait to start talking some baseball. But all right, let's finish with swimming, and then we're gonna jump into your questions. So they were at Notre Dame, Tim Welch Classic, placed third, but they were just 15 points behind Notre Dame in second place. So they swam, just as competitive as the other teams. Now, Ohio State won the meet by a significant amount, but again, just barely behind the host team. Speaking of Abby Daniel, we mentioned she zip swimmer of the week. We had her on the show 2 weeks ago. She got second in the 200 fly, third in the 400 relay, and some top three finishes for her. I can't remember what the other one was, but nonetheless, she had a fantastic week. There's also a diver of the week, and I'm totally spacing on her name, but so give a shout out to her. So we had the diver and the swimmer were the swimmer and diver of the week. So I mean, zip swimming is, I mean, Chad. It is they are so well coached. The swimmers are fantastic. Their last so this same night as the Zips basketball game. Unfortunately, there's a conflict there, but I would encourage you if you're not able to get a ticket to go to the basketball game over in the MAC over at Kent. I encourage you to check out senior night. They've had some amazing swimmers. We've had silver medalist in the Paralympics is a swimmer, Abby Daniel, who we've had. She's graduating. There's been some awesome swimmers that are going to be recognized. So I encourage you, viewers, if you can't make it to the Kent game, head over to the natatorium on campus and cheer on the swimming team. It's going to be a good opportunity to see them. And quite frankly, it's the last one until the MAC Conference
So
Championship.
we're honoring 11 seniors
11
on
seniors.
this swim meet on Friday against Ball State. The ceremony will start at 4:30, and then the meet will start at 5.
If I'm not
So
mistaken, Chad, have they all? I can't. What year where was the one year they came in second place to Bowling Green? Was that so? Could all of these had nothing but MAC championships, or they maybe one
Um,
year that they didn't, right?
I think they had the one year where, due to COVID, I think Coach Parisi decided to kind of sit out some of his athletes for that COVID year.
Yeah,
And they still competed, I think, that year, just not as many and not for that championship, I guess.
yeah.
And that was the one year Buffalo got us.
Buffalo was Buffalo. I thought it was BG for some
Yeah,
reason. But I
yeah,
mean, they didn't lose by that many points. Like
no,
it was
yeah,
still pretty close.
and it was because we didn't race like two or three of our top swimmers. So,
So
and
so these
that
seniors
was just
have
for eligibility wise for the following year,
sure.
which is crazy.
So these seniors have known nothing but success. So we want to
Right.
definitely cheer them on. Again, if you can't make it 4:30, that's when the senior celebration is going to happen. Excited for the swim team and all the success they've had this year and so want to put a plug in for that. All right, let's jump into our questions. Chad, you are a guest of courtesy of Tire Source, the official tire or official sponsor of the Turnover Tire. So now this is where I get to turn the tire on you, so to speak, to the wheel on you. So Chad, you and I have talked many times. I know you went to school here, but definitely for our listeners, talk about kind of your experience both as a student and then kind of coming back the last few years to be a full-time employee. Give us a little bit of your history with the University of Akron and specifically athletics.
Sure. So I was born and raised in Columbus, Ohio, um, 40 years ago, believe it or not.
Whoa!
I celebrated my 40th birthday earlier this month.
Hey,
So
congratulations!
thanks. And I have an interesting, fun story, I guess, to getting here to the University of Akron. Um, my dad passed away my junior year of high school. Everyone was telling me throughout growing up that I was going to be an Ohio State Buckeye. I worked I worked the stands as a Coke vendor from fourth
Wow,
grade to eighth grade. So like I've been in this industry for a very, very long time.
wow,
In high school, I was the basketball manager, turned into like our PA announcer, turned into um, multi varsity letterman, I guess, volleyball, football, basketball as a manager, um, athletic training. Like I just did everything. I just always have wanted to be around sport. And at the time, when it was time to enroll for college, I didn't want to be in Columbus anymore. I decided I wanted to get just a different change of pace, and so the University of Akron was one of two schools that accepted me. I applied to four. So one of them was in South Carolina, Francis Marion University, Muskingum University down in uh, Zanesville, I think it is,
yeah,
or
somewhere near there.
somewhere down there in that
Yeah,
Granville or something like that. Columbus State Community College in Columbus, and then the University of Akron. And as soon as I got my letter, there was a former basketball player, Matt Seibert, who went to my high school, who graduated a year before I got there, who I became friends with through my assistant basketball coach in grade school. Long-winded story.
yeah.
Um, who actually, ironically, is now my sister's neighbor. So again, just
Wow.
crazy how all that works around. But anyway, he was a basketball player for Coach Hipster, and he was here. So that I had heard of Akron before because of him. But I didn't know that Akron at the time was the only school other than Ohio State that had a video board at the time in the conference and in the MAC,
Really?
other than Ball State, which David Letterman's School of
Sure.
Communication kind of makes sense. But so knowing that Akron had this video board and me falling in love with the video board and intro videos from Chicago Bulls in the 90s, it was kind of this is where I'm meant to be. And
Yeah.
so that's kind of how I got here. Um, I remember I was going to try to be part of WZIP and ZTV, and my grades weren't necessarily there. So they kind of pushed me over to athletics, knowing that what I wanted to do was potentially be a camera operator or run the video board or something along those lines. Talked to Mike Waddell and Kim Liddell, who was a grad assistant for Mike Waddell my freshman year, and started working games in the production room as our click effects or our replay operator. I was a camera person. My freshman year, I actually directed a two-camera shoot, the Akron Kent basketball game
Wow.
what would have been March of '04.
So how would you have I mean, this is before they were on ESPN. So how would you have watched the game, or was it brought like how what did you
So this was just strictly for like video board and in-game
got it.
presentation. This had
Okay.
nothing to do with any type of ESPN thing.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so but then year two, I went to my boss, Mike Waddell at the time, and asked him if he wanted me to work over Christmas break, and he said yes. And I said, well, I've got a 26 gallon Chevy 94 Chevy Astro van that I can't drive back and forth between Columbus and Akron on 25 bucks a game. And he's like, okay, you're hired. Go talk to Kevin Olivet, who was the marketing director at the time, and find out how you can work during the week and make some extra dollars. I found a place to crash for a month before the dorms opened back, residence halls opened back up, and I was basically hired in Akron athletics.
So let me ask you a question. Had you
Yeah,
couldn't find a place to live, would you have lived in your van to be able
I
to?
might have. I might have. That's very much of a possibility for sure. I would have. And this is the time before InfoCision Stadium was built.
Yeah.
There was residence halls where InfoCision Stadium was. There was a bar over there. Um, yeah, I could have been just parked in the Chevy Astro van in the jar lot. I don't know. But luckily we didn't have to go down that avenue.
Yeah.
And then really that's really the history element of being a student, because then I was just working weekly, trying to learn craft, trying to learn editing on my own with Avid at the time.
Okay.
Um, and then Rob Pavlis was my boss at one point, who was the football video coordinator, who turned into kind of like the video coordinator for both football and basketball. And then we had some administration changes, and then it was, Chad, I know nothing about anything in this control room. You do, so run it.
Yeah.
My job was to recruit students. My job was to hire the students. My job was to pay the students. I was a student,
Yeah.
so it was interesting, and we were able to do some really cool things with the standard definition video board that we had within the jar. And then I just learned as I went in the new technologies as they came along. Got to my bachelor, end of my bachelor career, and Hunter Yurachek was the head of external relations. He's now the athletic director at Arkansas. I went into his office, said, "Hey, like I graduate here in December." He's like, "Well, we don't have a full-time job for you, but we can offer you a graduate assistantship." I was like, "Well, I really kind of want to get into the workforce." Went out and talked to my mom. She said, "Chad, when's the next time someone's ever going to pay for you to get your master's degree?" And so I turned right back around within half hour and said, "Okay, I'll do the graduate assistantship."
I didn't know that. So what
Yeah.
was your so undergrad? By the way, we're talking with Chad Welker. He is the director of multimedia services for Zips Athletics. Again, for those viewers, you probably have seen him on before this. He's not. This is not his first time on Zips Nation Insider. So we're glad to have him back. So we're talking about just kind of his background as a student. So Chad, what was your undergrad degree in, and then what did you get your master's in?
So my undergrad was in school communications,
Okay.
with especially specialization TV and radio.
Okay.
I have the ambition still to be a play-by-play guy. Um,
Well, I mean, you're doing it though.
I
We'll talk about that in
am.
a sec.
Yep. Yeah, a little bit. Yep.
Yeah.
And but I also knew that I couldn't just rely on knowing how to be a play-by-play guy. I wanted to know the behind the scenes. Kind of know the behind the scenes first, and then step in front of a camera or in front of a mic or whatever it is after I learned the behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And then so yeah, I walked into Hunter Yurchek's office, said, "Okay, I'll take the graduate assistantship," and got my master's in sports science and coaching, which is
Okay.
in the education realm of the university at the time. Kind of was in the same predicament in 2009. "Hey Hunter, I'm graduating. Do you have a full-time thing ready?" He was like, I didn't know you were graduating, in December, so we didn't budget for a full-time
Mm.
position to kind of happen when you were done. And I was like, well, what do I want? What do you need me to do? And talked with our development officer at the time, Jeremiah Dickey, who's the athletic director at Boise State now. And he said, Chad, like, best case scenario is you just enroll in classes and just finish out the rest of a basketball season, finish out the spring. And so I've got some credits that are just sitting there,
Oh wow.
that are, still towards the sports science degree, but at the end of the day, I already had my degree. So it was just kind of collecting a paycheck at the time, trying to build some sort of resume portfolio. And then new administration changed. I earned a right for an interview for the new position of media services at the time. I wasn't guaranteed a job, and I said okay. But I wasn't going to hang my head on just interview, so I interviewed other places, and it actually put me back home in Columbus, where I became a full-time intern with the Buckeyes
Oh
in
wow.
their video department, and was there for 2 years. And Hunter Yurachek and Kevin Olivet, who I've kind of mentioned on this podcast already tonight, called me when they were both down at Coastal Carolina, down in Myrtle Beach, Conway, South Carolina. And they were like, hey, we want to bring you down here. We're going to install a new video board in our football stadium, and we've got a new basketball arena. We want you to start up the program here. So sure enough, took a leap of faith, and went down to South Carolina, where was able to install a new video board at their football venue, their basketball venue, and then 2 years later, their baseball venue.
Oh
And
wow.
then, ironically, a year after, so funny story too, a year after I left Akron, well, the following year, so I left in spring of 10, fall of 10, men's soccer wins a national title.
Mm.
I leave Ohio State in 2012, and in 2014, Ohio State football wins a national title. I leave Coastal Carolina in spring of 2015, and in 2016, baseball wins a national title. So I'm not leaving Akron, but like, if it really helps us win a national title, like NCAA, if you grant an NCAA title to Akron, because I leave, I'm sure.
Well,
I'll
we
sign a
had
paper.
Coach Brookhart on one of the first episodes, and
Yeah,
his career was like that too. He left places the year before, so he left BYU. He was a walk-on there, left there. They win the national championship the next year. Was at Denver after he graduated, the Broncos.
yeah,
He leaves, and then they win a Super Bowl the next year.
yeah,
So I felt the same thing. Like, yeah, there's so if he leaves, does that mean I mean, well, kind of with you, you guys maybe together, you guys got to coordinate
yeah,
something in that.
or something. And what's funny is Coach Brookhart and I have become really good friends over the. His son was at Miami when I was at Miami after I left Coastal Carolina, um, uh, 15 to 17, and then I was at Miami as assistant video director down there under Steve Baker, who's the voice of the Red Hawks. He still is the voice of the Red Hawks, but
Was he here this past weekend?
he wasn't, because the way they rule their broadcast team is if a team is home and on ESPN Plus, he'll stay back
Got it. Got it.
and will bring up his other counterpart, Terry
Now,
Bridge.
have you seen him since you've been back here at Akron?
I have, yeah. Him and
Okay.
I are still really, really close.
Okay.
And we talk, give or take once or twice a year.
Yeah.
Was really hoping that I was going to see him last week. But again, he's now a retired man. So, other than just doing calling games,
Yeah.
so he's enjoying that retired life right now. So ultimately, I told Miami the only job that I would leave Miami for was Akron. And Akron called 2 years later and said, "Hey, we're gonna open up this video position." At the time, the salary, the people that they interviewed for, I don't know how open I'm supposed to be on this, but opened and said, that's not enough.
Yeah.
So they basically said, Chad, the job's kind of yours if we can agree on a salary number. And so I was like, okay, and gave them a number, and they said, okay. So yeah, and then a couple years ago got promoted title wise from director of the Zips Digital Network to director of multimedia services.
And you've been here two,
This is
three,
year 8. Yeah,
year
this is
eight since you've been back.
yeah, since I've been back, I've been
Oh
here
my
for
goodness,
8 years. Yeah.
that's
And I
awesome.
almost got that national title in 2018 with men's soccer.
Sure, close.
And
Came down to
even
penalty kicks, right?
yeah, and even in I didn't go to penalties, but Ben Lunt and those guys, David Egbo, all of them, Marcel, Sajak, all part of that team. Great team, just couldn't finish it there against Maryland back in 2018, and was able to travel with them to Philly to in 2017. And again, I hope that those still listening and watching right now, they know that men's soccer and Akron Big East, it's back.
Yeah.
And the goal isn't just a regular season Big East championship. The goal is trophies, and the goal is winning another national title. So um,
I mean, I feel like, and
hope I can be a
actually,
part of it. So for
yeah.
sure.
Well, I tell you what, the one thing that I wanted to ask you, and I read I guess how many years ago? This is a handful of years ago. There was a bio that was posted on the athletics website about you, and one of the things you'd mentioned was Akron is a sleeping giant.
Yeah.
That's the term that
Yeah.
you used, and what you just said reminded me of that there's so many sports that are on the cusp of some really cool things. And granted, I think a lot of people focus when they talk about athletics, they talk about football and how, great, not so great it's been the last few years. But I think our job as fans is to remind them of think about soccer, think about basketball, track and field.
Yep. Swimming,
Softball's
diving.
been doing. I mean,
Yeah.
it's it's swimming, of course. I
Yeah.
mean, yes, football is the one that most people think of, but quite frankly, I think some of the success you've seen from teams not football, like I said, the women's team has won the MAC championship 10 out of the last 11 years. I mean,
Right.
that's a dynasty in my book. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know.
100%.
So I think to your point of there's some just on the cusp for a school, mid-major school like this, where does and this is kind of a question. I'm asking it hypothetically, but also just let me ask you, like, how did Akron become a soccer powerhouse? Like, is it just start with it's just momentum, I guess? Like, just
Well,
I
I
mean, what
mean,
is it? What's in the water here? Not only on campus, but my favorite thing about soccer team when I look through the roster, yeah, we got players from all over the world, but you know what? There's still a handful from right here in Northeast Ohio. So,
yeah.
like, what is it? How does this happen?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just the history that we can continually sell to athletes, not only locally but around the globe. Um, there is a history. Yeah, there's not as many stars above our crest, as maybe we want, but it's not that we're not trying to get those.
Yeah,
And you know, we have a great fan base when it comes to soccer. We have a great support system. We need to continue to build them up from that financial standpoint, of that NIL standpoint, scholarship at levels, and continually build the momentum of the fans when they come to that beautiful facility over there at First Energy Stadium. I mean, it's one of the top soccer play venues to play. Just from the pitch standpoint. And I think part of it is our style as well. Our style can get you ready for professional soccer. And you've seen that with the likes of Darlington Nagby and um, DeAndre Yedlin, who are playing
yeah,
in the MLS. Guys like Robbie Dambrot, who's in USL Championship over there in Loudonville. Um, that they the goal is obviously to win championships and trophies here at
yeah,
Akron, but then the goal is to then get into a professional league and continue uh, your professional career in a game and sport that you love. And that's also what's also helping with men's basketball, right? They continually say,
yeah.
Coach Gross is continually saying all the guys that have come through while he's been here are now playing professionally. and he's got a list of where they're playing professionally,
Yeah.
not just the Enrique Freemans in the NBA, but you get the Lauren Christian Jacksons overseas, Zarius Williams overseas, Channel Banks overseas, Tyler Cheese overseas. They've all
Yeah.
been and they've all gone through the system. So that success is helpful. And then they're still supporting the guys that are still playing back here
Yeah.
today, and the Nate Johnsons and Tavari Johnsons. And eventually, again, another pitch. I'm not trying to ask for it, but eventually, the financial level of it's going to come from them if they
Yeah.
haven't done that already.
Yeah.
But right now, it's the mental and the support system, and at some point, that's where my kind of sleeping giant comment kind of comes from is at some point in time, the community that hasn't yet um, is just waiting to find reasons to give back to this university and within athletics. And they have to see the success on the field first or the success out in the community. And when that comes, I think the sky's the limit. We have a gorgeous stadium for our football program. And by the way, football won 4 games this year.
Yeah.
They're improving, right?
Yeah. They've
Now we've
doubled
got
their wins over the last
right.
year. They had two.
And in the last 2 years,
Yeah.
right? And we've got to find ways to continually to
Yeah.
support them, um, to keep a
Yeah.
coach
Yeah.
Moorhead here, and to be able to help them find some sort of balance and being able to support their guys to get good talent here, keep them here, and then like I said, the Mac's an open conference, and
Yeah.
you saw it even this year in bowl season. They went 5-1, right? And so, what's to say we're 2 wins away from going to a bowl
Yeah.
game, helping that make it 6-1.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just I believe even though I'm from Columbus, I believe in Akron. It's one of the reasons why I came back.
Yeah.
I love Akron. I want to do whatever I can to help it succeed, um, in any fashion that I possibly can. I'm probably giving more time than the finances. And by the way, Akron women's basketball is only down 4 with 6:30 to go, 46-42
I
in the
was gonna
third
ask
quarter.
you. I was gonna ask you for an update.
So I got you right there. See, I'm ready for you, Jacob. But and I'm given the time, right? And I don't see me not doing this for a while. The other thing that I really enjoyed doing here at the university, and it's thanks to getting my master's program, is teaching a sports production
Sure.
class here on campus, Com 317, and they've asked me to teach it now both semesters because it's been a popular class,
Oh wow.
which I was really just okay with one semester. And next year we're going to give it a go for 2 semesters and hope that I get 1 or 2, maybe 3 students that come help work our ESPN events, because that maybe our listeners don't know that either is other than my graduate assistant myself, like we are 100% student based in those ESPN plus
So if
events.
you're watching, so let's make
Yeah,
sure everyone understands. When we're watching a game on ESPN,
yeah.
there no ESPN. It's all your students doing the camera
It,
work.
camera work, directing, replays, um, plans of coming back from breaks. The only thing that's not students are the graphics that loses my Emmys, which
Yeah.
is the running joke that I have with my students because it shows that we all make mistakes. And then our talent, Michael Regai and Jeff Phelps, who are mentors of mine when I
Yeah.
was in school, and to say that they're voices of Akron basketball and voices of the Mid American Conference. I think it's commendable, and like it's opportunities for students to grow, hopefully find some experience. They get those 4 famous letters on their resume
Yeah.
that they get to talk about in their job interviews. So yeah, I mean that's the goal. It's me giving back to community, and it excites me. It makes me want to be at the university every day.
Sure. Um, so one of the things I wanted to ask you about, and I'm going to put you on the spot, because I wanted to find out I mean, you've been, I think, collectively on campus longer than I have between your undergrad, master's, and now 8 years. So you've been here longer than I have. I've been 2013, so maybe around the same amount of time. So about 12 years or so, maybe around the same. But I was not as passionate about athletics as I mean, you've been in since you were a freshman. Can you what if I was going to say put your top three
Ooh,
Akron sports memories, top
uh,
three.
top three. Well, I have to say that I have to give a shout out to Anthony Ampai Patakwan, who
No clue who's that for
he
those
was
what?
a he was a midfielder, All American for the Akron men's soccer team. I was able to do play by play for my first stream back in 2009. And he had two goals that day. You can find the clip on YouTube. Um, but he gave me like my first like soccer calls. And that moment, because that's what I want to do. And again, shout out to Hunter Yurchek for allowing me to do that. But we nicknamed him Ampi. He was from IMG Academy, I think, down in Dallas area.
Okay.
Caleb Porter recruit. But he had one free kick and one play where he kind of just broke through the defense off of a throw in. I'll never forget it. Like I said, you can look it up. Akron Soccer 2009 against South Florida. And to be able to call that was a special moment for me.
Okay.
I remember my family because it was over Thanksgiving. It was first round of the NCAA tournament. And so my family down in Columbus, they were all I don't think they were watching, but they pulled up the audio at least
Okay.
and listened to it. So that was really cool for me. Um, man, that would probably be my favorite one as a student. I also have to go with I think it was around the same time, 2009 in MAC championship for basketball, just because we had gone, maybe it was 2007. No, it wasn't 2007. That was, oh, I shouldn't have even brought up that year. Um, it, we played Buffalo. It was one of those games, and it was Keith Dambrot's first MAC championship. Um, and to see the progression that he had since the time that he became the head coach, like year one, they got to Cleveland. They lost. I think they won one game and they lost. Then the next year they got to the semi, then they lost. Got to the final. This was that 2007 that I was talking about. Lost on a buzzer beater. Then they got to, I think it might have probably was then 2008, but my memory is all jacked up. But finally when he got that, I was so happy for Coach Dambrot and the guys that were able to make that team. Um, so I'd say that's probably number two. Um, Anytime and number three, I mean, anytime you beat Kent State, I don't
Yeah.
care what year it is. And I know it's Kent week for basketball. It's anytime. It never gets old. Ironically, my sister went to Kent. She doesn't care about sports that much. Um, she was a nursing major. Happy that she got her nursing degree from Kent. Um, she'll rub it in when Kent wins.
Yeah.
She won't care if Akron wins.
Right.
So, and that's fine too. And as long as like my nephew, her son, knows true loyalties because he's come to more Akron games than he's gone to
Got
Kent.
it. Got it. Well, you're doing a good job as an uncle to
Yeah.
help
So
raise them right.
yeah, exactly. So I'd say number three, just anytime you can beat Kent, and I think there was one
In
moment
any sport, right?
in any
Anytime.
sport. Oh, any sport, 100%. And I think one of my favorite moments though too with that was um, we were over at the school 10 minutes down the road, and we didn't have I don't think we had the wagon wheel at the time, and I was doing B-roll footage I was traveling with football at the time, and I knew when it was time to go over and get like a great, glorious beauty shot of the team running over to grab the trophy and lifting it up.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was seen on ESPN, I think the next year, which was great. So, um, that anytime you can pick up the wagon wheel, it's special for sure.
Well, I tell you, we got another chance this weekend, Friday night. Again, basketball you alluded to. Just a few more questions here. Just one of those is just for those that are thinking about getting into sports. I mean, I think one thing that they need to remember, and again, you've been more involved with it than I have. is you got to be open to being proactive, right? You got to take the initiative because a lot of times they're not going to come after you. I know you made a name and then people started coming after you. You had to kind of force your way, quote unquote, into these opportunities. But let's give some advice to someone that's aspiring, wants to be involved with sports from either a broadcasting or general. What are one or two things that they need to know about getting into this field for their career?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, number one is be ready to spend some time with folks that are passionate about what they do. And be prepared. Unfortunately, right now, be prepared to not get paid for it. I know I know it. I get it. It stinks. But it's how we learn. It's how
Yeah,
you um, grow, and and then just don't be afraid of pitching ideas. Um, got to keep pitching ideas on how to get more people involved, how to get students into the stands every single day. But you have to find a way to make yourself, um, you know, usable, valuable on any given day,
yeah,
because I can tell you, Jacob, that in my 8 years, I've missed one home athletic event on purpose. And that's not even on purpose because I was told I wasn't allowed to be here because of COVID. In 8 years, so I've been it a lot. And so
yeah,
you it it's a special job. It's a very rewarding job. You get to meet some amazing people, not just athletes, but the students that I work with. Overly thankful that they stick with me after every single game, and let them know that I'm here to support them in any way I possibly can, whether it be connections that I know through um, broadcast companies that we've worked with, or um, you know when TV trucks come in, or I get phone calls of, Chad, do you have any students who could fill a role here? You know, if I think they could fill a role, or they would be willing to learn something, yeah, I give them the name. And then it's up to them to move on and try to create their own connections to be able to get their own jobs. Broadcasting is an interesting field just
yeah,
from the standpoint of it's a lot of freelancing.
yeah.
And so it's a lot of self-marketing and um, self-worth. There was a moment a few years ago where I didn't know that if I didn't have Akron, if I could make it. And it was about a month or two where I had to convince myself that, yeah, if I left Akron, I'd be okay. Um, Fortunately enough, I ended up I'm still here, and again doing what I love every day, and hopefully telling the right stories of Akron athletics and Akron athletes that are here, who wanting to be Zips for life.
That's cool. Great. I appreciate that. We have a few more questions. Again, as you know, in this podcast, we like to talk about two things at the end of every episode. One, uh, do you have so in your role, one of the hats you wear, as you've alluded to, is the play-by-play for the soccer team, home soccer matches. Do you have any pre-match rituals or superstitions things that you need to do in your role doing the play-by-play?
You know, at the moment, no, but yes. I say no because, interesting enough, and I appreciate those who've commented on things of my play-by-play talents over the course of the last couple of years. But I honestly want to try to stay as humble as I can with it, from a standpoint of, I don't get enough. I don't get enough time to prepare for my broadcast. I'd like to have more.
Yeah.
And people who say that I do a good job, I'm very thankful. I but I wonder how well I could do if that was my only focus.
Sure. Oh, that's a really
Um,
good, yeah. Yeah.
and yeah, but so that's where I say no. But then I go and talk with our men's soccer team, and have kind of towards the end of their team meal, head over to where they have their team meal, and do a scouting report with our assistants. Or
Okay.
if I miss them at team meal, Typically, I'm there on the pit over at the field like 2 hours early, and I get my scouting report from either Michael Nanchoff or Jared Coppinger, and the 5-10 minutes that they spend telling me what I need to know about the other squad is truly truly helpful,
Yeah,
and that's been very beneficial over the
sure,
course of the last 2 years. So,
sure,
so that's been
sure.
helpful.
All right,
So
and then the
that would
next,
be my superstition. Yeah.
yeah, just making sure you're chatting with the and connecting up with the assistant coaches.
Right.
And my guess is creature of habit that if you don't do that, that's information that you're not going to have, and
Yeah.
then thus that would affect the broadcast. All
Yep.
right, next question is about hometown pizza. You get that same
Uh,
question. So if we're in Columbus, what part of Columbus? Is it Columbus itself or
yeah. So it's an area called Clintonville,
okay?
and people who kind of don't know Clintonville, they actually do know it, and they don't realize they know it. So I always take Columbus, and I say, you know where High Street is, and everyone says, yeah, I know where High Street is. I said, okay, we're gonna take you down High Street. You have you have downtown, Short North, Campus, Clintonville, Worthington, Delaware. And they're like,
Okay.
oh, of course, I know where Clintonville is.
Okay. Okay.
So that's kind of where Clintonville is in regards to
Okay. So where are we
Columbus.
going for pizza, man? Where are we hitting?
I knew you were gonna ask me this question, and I've got two spots.
Two
One
spots.
one is more I've known it since I was little and I actually worked there. The other one is more recent. So Dante's Pizza
Okay.
in Clintonville, and I worked at
So
Dante's.
you know Dante. Dante of Dante's Pizza is still around.
Dante's is still around there in Clintonville. Dante's Pizza in Clintonville, and then JT's Pizza on Linworth.
Okay.
And their crust just is like top notch for what I call the Columbus cut. It's kind of the pie cut, or it's the square cut. I
Okay.
call it Columbus cut.
Okay.
Um, but my mom has always been a corner piece lover from the pizza standpoint. I used to not be, and now I am. And both of those like nice, crisp, you know, they're both kind of the thin crust, but that it when it comes to pizza, it's all about how you bake the
Sure.
base.
Sure.
So for sure. So,
So
but
so was it
those are my
TJ's?
two
TJ's and
JT.
JT's and Dante's in Columbus and Clintonville.
Yep.
Both in Clintonville?
So Dante's is in Clintonville. JT's is on Linworth.
Okay.
It's up near Bethel area. So
Okay.
yeah,
There we go. Those are your pizza recommendations for Columbus. All right, so now it's time for rapid fire. So our
let's do
rapid
it.
fire segment is powered by 330 To Go. It's Northeast Ohio's hottest and fastest growing news and entertainment media network. All right, first question in our rapid fire. Ronaldo or Messi?
Messy.
Messi. I mean, is that even a comparison anymore? Like is
Come
Ronaldo, I mean, I know on the downside.
Ronaldo, because he moved to the Saudi league, I think is he no one knows when he plays, no one seems to see him except on the international stage.
Sure. So what's a
Messi
better comparison? What's the
Messi
Ronaldo Messi of 2025?
um I would say the likes I'm a Liverpool guy, so I mean Mohamed Salah is still
Okay.
up there for me. Um Aaron Holland from Manchester City.
Yeah.
I mean, he's having a real down year scoring goals at the moment, but um, I mean, still Messi. I got to see Messi when down in Columbus this past year in October, and the guy just knows when to make movements,
Sure.
and he's just such a casual player, and it was special to see. We'll see if I go see him up in Cleveland when they take on the Crew again. Uh,
Yeah.
Again, I'd be rooting for Columbus and Darlington Nagbe, who's an Akron alum,
Yeah.
soccer alum, and a whole native of Akron or native of Cleveland. So, like, I'd like to see more black and gold than black and pink
There
down
we go.
up there in Cleveland.
There we go. All right. That was the what not to do in a rapid fire segment, but
Right.
that's okay. Let's keep going. Favorite Akron soccer player ever?
Oh, man. Um, I'm gonna plead the fifth on that one. I can't. I love all of them. I love
Love
all
all of
those
them.
guys
Okay,
and the
that's
gals. I mean, they're good friends of all of mine.
yeah.
since I've been around. So
All
plead the
right.
fifth one.
Favorite emoji?
Big grinny smiley guy. So big smile guy, I guess.
All right. Favorite milkshake flavor?
I'm a peanut butter guy.
Peanut butter milkshake.
Peanut butter milkshake.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And Swenson's in that.
Nothing wrong with that.
Gonna shout out Swenson.
All right. Favorite. Well, actually, did we get your favorite pizza topping? Did we ask you what you get on your what's your favorite pizza topping?
So my pizza toppings are pepperoni, bacon, and either jalapeno or banana peppers.
All right. A favorite guilty pleasure TV.
Ooh, that's a good one. Right now it's The Middle.
The Middle, the TV
Yeah,
show.
the TV show The Middle is
It's
what
like
I'm
on
watching.
syndication, like you're watching it stream.
Yeah, yeah. I'll do that, or The Good Doctor is also on that plate right now of just Ted Lasso. You can't go wrong with Ted
Ted
Lasso.
Lasso. There we go.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right, and then favorite snack to have up in the broadcast booth during a Zip soccer game.
I'm just gonna stick with the water.
Just
Uh,
water.
yeah, because I don't want to like belch or hiccup or
Choke on an
something.
M&M during a game.
Yeah, choke on it. But if you're gonna go with snack, peanut butter M&M, like
Peanut butter M&M. All right, so
let's
we're
just go with
sensing a
that.
theme. Peanut butter
Yeah.
is your
Oh yeah.
flavor then.
Yes, 100%.
Peanut butter your flavor. All
Yep.
right, well, cool. Hey, Chad, thank you so much for jumping on kind of last minute. Like we said at the beginning, we were hoping to have Alexis, and we had to cancel on our postpone, I guess, not cancel, because we're gonna have her back
Yeah.
on our part. So I appreciate you jumping on Zips Nation Insider again. Big match, big game, I guess, this Friday night. Zips take on Kent State at Kent. And Chad, just before we go, what do we got on the women's game? What's going on?
They're getting ready to wrap up the third quarter. They're getting ready to show the score. Bowling Green's currently at the free throw line. Here comes the score. It is 61 to 49 with 34
49.
minutes
So they
left.
had so in the third quarter though?
Still in the third quarter. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Excellent. All right. Hey, Chad, thank you so much. And I
Yep.
know you'll be back on the podcast in some capacity, either as a substitute or maybe we'll even have you as a guest again. But appreciate the time. Thank you so much for being on tonight.
And thank you for what you do, Jacob, and getting this rolling this year. It's been awesome.
No, it's been fun to work with you. Appreciate all the help you do get on some great guests. We've had some fantastic ones, and that's a credit to you and the team over in Zips Athletics. So thank you so much.
Have a good night, Jacob. Go Zips.